Mia Carter was never the type to back down. She was used to fighting for survival, juggling jobs to make ends meet, and facing judgmental stares every single day. But she never expected that a simple elevator argument would change her life forever. Ethan Brooks was a powerful CEO, a man accustomed to having control over everything. But in that moment when a delivery worker boldly challenged him, he found himself unexpectedly intrigued. Two people from completely different worlds, yet fate had other plans for them. When their paths collide, what will happen? This story begins with an overloaded elevator, but it won't end there. Mia Carter pedaled furiously, her heartbeat matching the rapid spin of her bike wheels. One last delivery and her shift would finally be over. But time was not on her side. Come on, she muttered, weaving through pedestrians on the crowded sidewalk. She skidded to a stop in front of the towering King & Parker law firm, a building so elegant that even the receptionist looked like she had stepped straight out of a fashion magazine. Dashing inside, Mia pressed the elevator button and stepped in just as the doors opened. But she wasn't alone. A group of lawyers entered, deep in discussion. And then came Ethan Brooks, immaculate suit, perfectly styled hair, the kind of man who looked like he belonged on the cover of a business magazine. As the doors began to close, a sharp beep, beep, beep rang out. A lawyer glanced at the display panel, eyes widening. We're over the weight limit. Glances were exchanged. Then, one lawyer turned directly to Mia. Someone needs to step out. Mia blinked. All right. Who was the last one to get in? Every gaze shifted to Ethan. He raised an eyebrow, clearly not used to being called out. Me? Mia crossed her arms. Basic elevator etiquette. Last one in, first one out. A lawyer beside him murmured, "She has a point." But Ethan merely smirked, mirroring Mia's stance. "I'm not stepping out. I have an important meeting." Mia shrugged. "Great. I have an important delivery." The tension in the elevator grew thick. Finally, one of the lawyers sighed and stepped out. There. Now, can we all get on with our lives before she sues us for discrimination against delivery workers? Mia grinned as the doors shut, but Ethan simply smirked. "You've got guts." She scoffed. "I've got a job to do. And I have a company to run." Mia huffed. "I bet you got your CEO title by arguing until people gave up." Ethan chuckled, his eyes gleaming. "And I bet you'd make a great lawyer." She frowned. "Why does everyone keep saying that?" The elevator doors opened. The lawyers filed out, leaving Ethan and Mia standing alone. She stepped out, unaware that this was only the beginning. Mia stared at her phone screen, double-checking the recipient's name. She blinked, then blinked again. No way. Yet as she knocked lightly on the office door, a deep, familiar voice called out from inside. "Come in." Taking a deep breath, she pushed the door open. Ethan Brooks looked up from his desk, eyebrows raising in genuine surprise. "You again?" Mia forced a tight smile. "Yep, life sure has a twisted sense of humor." She placed the food bag on his desk, maybe with just a bit more force than necessary. Ethan leaned back, barely hiding a smirk. "Looks like we're meant to cross paths." Mia folded her arms. "Or maybe I've been cursed by the god of bad luck." Ethan propped his chin on his hand, studying her. "You're a great speaker. Have you ever thought about doing something other than deliveries?" Mia narrowed her eyes. "Why does everyone keep saying that?" "Because you're quick-witted, sharp, and not afraid to stand your ground. That's rare." Mia's grip tightened slightly. "I studied law for a while, but I had to drop out." Ethan tilted his head. "Why?" She glanced away, voice quieter. "Personal reasons." He nodded, not pushing further. "If you're expecting some motivational speech, don't worry. That's not my style." Instead, he grabbed a piece of paper, scribbled something down, and slid it across the desk toward her. "This is a hypothetical case. An employee was fired without cause. How can they fight it?" Mia frowned. "Are you testing me?" "I'm just curious." She sighed but couldn't resist the challenge. "It depends on the contract and length of service. If the termination was without prior notice, they may be entitled to compensation under labor law. If there's a specific clause in the contract, they could claim a breach of agreement. Ethan's eyes gleamed with interest. You have talent. Mia crossed her arms. Was that a test? Ethan chuckled. It was, and you passed. He slid a business card toward her. If you want a better job than delivering food, come to my office tomorrow. Let's talk. Mia stared at the card, her mind racing. What was she supposed to do now? Mia sat on the worn-out couch in her tiny apartment, twirling Ethan's business card between her fingers. You look way too stressed, Tessa, her best friend and roommate, commented, munching on popcorn. Mia sighed and tossed the card onto the table. I argued with a CEO in an elevator, delivered food to him, and now he's offering me a job. Tessa's eyes widened. Wait, you mean Ethan Brooks? Mia nodded. The same guy you fought with in the elevator? The one and only. Tessa burst into laughter. If this were a romance movie, you two would be married by the end of the year. Mia grabbed a pillow and threw it at her. This is real life, not a movie. Tessa smirked. So, what are you gonna do? Mia looked at the business card again, then took a deep breath. I think I'm going. I have nothing to lose. The next morning, Mia stood in front of King and Parker Law Firm, no longer in her delivery uniform, no longer carrying a food bag, no longer smelling like takeout. She wore a light blue blouse, black slacks, and a pair of shoes that would definitely give her blisters if she walked too much. As soon as she stepped inside, the receptionist immediately recognized her. You again. Mia smiled. No crowded elevators this time. The woman chuckled and picked up the phone. Mr. Brooks, your guest has arrived. After a brief pause, she nodded. You can go up. Mia stepped into the elevator. This time, no one told her to leave. As the doors opened, Ethan was already waiting. Welcome to my office, Mia. She crossed her arms. I haven't accepted anything yet. He raised an eyebrow. Then why are you here? Mia took a deep breath. Curiosity. Ethan smirked. Great, then have a seat. She hesitated for a second before finally sitting across from him. Ethan placed a file on the desk and slid it toward her. This is your first challenge. Mia flipped through the pages and frowned. Wait, this is a real contract? Ethan nodded. It is. She narrowed her eyes. And what exactly do you want me to do? Review it and tell me if there's anything wrong. Mia squinted. Another test? Ethan smiled. Of course, but that's also how you'll learn. Mia let out a sharp exhale, but she still picked up a pen and started reading. 3 minutes later, she had already underlined a few questionable clauses. Ethan leaned back, watching her with amusement. She was about to surprise him. Again. Mia flipped through the contract, her pen moving rapidly across the pages. She read fast, but she didn't miss a thing. 3 minutes passed. Then 5. Finally, she set the pen down and looked up at Ethan. There's a problem. He folded his arms, intrigued. I'm listening. Mia pointed to a clause in the contract. If the supplier fails to meet the deadline, the penalty fee will be determined based on what is most convenient for the client. She met Ethan's gaze directly. That means they can charge whatever they want. Legal? Yes. Ethical? Not at all. Ethan let out a quiet chuckle. You think fast. Mia crossed her arms. So, did I pass the second test? Ethan stood up and extended his hand. If you take this job, this will be your daily routine. Mia hesitated for a second, then she shook his hand. I accept. She narrowed her eyes. But don't expect me to make you coffee. Ethan laughed. We'll see. Mia's first day at King & Parker Law Firm started with curious stares, not all of them welcoming. Especially from Derek Hayes, a senior attorney in the firm. He sat across from her in the break room, arms crossed, eyes sharp. You know you don't belong here, right? Mia raised an eyebrow. Oh? And who decides that? You? Derek smirked. I studied for years to get where I am. What about you? A week ago you were delivering food. Mia smiled. And yet? Ethan picked me over you. What does that say? Derek clenched his jaw. Let's see how long you last. Mia tilted her head. If you want to bet, I'm in. Just then, Ethan walked in, amusement in his voice. "If you two are done with this ego contest, we have a client waiting." Mia stood up, a victorious smirk on her face. Derek, however, looked anything but pleased. But Mia knew this was just the first of many battles. Mia quickly settled into her new role, but she wasn't the only one who noticed. With each passing day, she proved she wasn't just some lucky outsider who stumbled into the job. She handled documents efficiently, caught mistakes in contracts that even experienced lawyers had overlooked. And Ethan Brooks had noticed. He wasn't just pleased with her work, he was watching her. Mia noticed it too, the way Ethan would stand behind her desk, observing as she reviewed contracts. The moments their eyes met across the conference room, the way he'd stop by her desk just to ask an unnecessary question. Tessa had picked up on it almost immediately. "So, what's going on with you and your annoyingly handsome boss?" she asked as Mia poured herself a cup of coffee in the break room. Mia nearly spilled it. "What?" Tessa smirked. "Ethan Brooks looks at you like you just won $1 million case." Mia rolled her eyes. "He just cares about my work." Tessa raised an eyebrow. "Sure." But Mia knew Tessa wasn't the only one who had noticed, and that worried her. Because no matter how much she tried to deny it, the tension between her and Ethan was getting harder to ignore. And she wasn't sure how much longer she could pretend not to notice it. Things took a turn when Mia received an unexpected request from Ethan. "Mia, you're coming with me to a negotiation dinner tonight." She blinked. "Me? Why?" Ethan folded his arms as if the answer was obvious. "Because you've been handling this contract directly. I need you there to make sure everything goes smoothly." Mia opened her mouth to refuse, but the certainty in Ethan's gaze stopped her. "Fine," she said, keeping her tone neutral, "but this is just business." Ethan smirked. "Of course." That evening, Mia stepped into the restaurant wearing an elegant black dress, a stark contrast to her usual delivery uniform or office attire. Ethan was already there, dressed in his perfectly tailored suit, but he seemed more relaxed than usual. "Mia," he greeted her with a nod. "Ethan," she responded, folding her arms. "Now, where's the client?" He chuckled, shaking his head. "Do you ever relax?" She sighed. "Not when I'm working with you." Before Ethan could reply, their client arrived, and the negotiations officially began. Mia presented her arguments flawlessly, leaving a strong impression. But what unsettled her the most wasn't the negotiation. It was the way Ethan watched her throughout the evening. As they left the restaurant, Ethan suddenly spoke. "You feel it, don't you?" Mia froze. "Feel what?" Ethan turned to face her, his gaze unwavering. "This. Between us." Mia took a deep breath, feeling her heartbeat quicken. She couldn't answer, because she knew he was right. Mia felt like she was standing on the edge of something inevitable. She knew Ethan was right. She knew the tension between them wasn't just in her head, but admitting it meant stepping into something she wasn't sure she could control. Ethan watched her, waiting. She could lie, she could deny it, she could pretend there was nothing between them. But instead, Mia just sighed and met his gaze. "Ethan, this is a bad idea." He smirked slightly. "Maybe. But that's never stopped me from going after what I want." She swallowed hard, feeling like she was losing control. Ethan leaned in, his voice lower. "Tell me you feel nothing, and I'll never bring this up again." Mia opened her mouth to answer, but the words stuck in her throat. If she denied it, she could keep things simple, keep her guard up, but the way he looked at her, the quiet confidence, the unshakable certainty, made it impossible. Her pulse quickened. Her mind screamed at her to walk away, but her heart had already made its choice. She exhaled shakily, barely above a whisper. "Ethan, I don't know if this is a good idea." His smirk softened into something deeper, something unreadable. "But you're not saying no." Mia expected Ethan to push further, to demand an answer, but instead he just smiled, a smile that made her feel like she had just given something away, something she had tried to keep hidden. "All right," Ethan said, stepping back. "I won't force you." Mia exhaled in relief, expecting Ethan to step back, but instead he studied her for a long moment, as if weighing a decision he'd already made. "Mia," he said, voice unusually soft, "have you ever thought about what happens next?" She frowned. "Next?" Ethan pulled out a small envelope and set it in front of her. "Open it." Slowly, Mia pulled out the paper inside, scanning the first line, then froze. A marriage certificate. Her name and Ethan's were already printed on it. Her eyes widened as she looked up at him in complete shock. "You're joking, right?" Ethan shrugged, amusement dancing in his eyes. "I handle everything through contracts. This is a serious offer." Mia stared at the paper in her hands, then back at Ethan. She expected to see some sign that he was joking, but all she found was unwavering certainty. "You're actually serious?" she asked, her voice slightly unsteady. Ethan nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. "I've never signed a contract I wasn't sure about." Mia let out a breathless laugh, half disbelief, half amusement. "You really turned a marriage proposal into a legal agreement." Ethan shrugged. "I'm just doing it in the way we both understand best." She looked at the paper again, feeling her heart pound in her chest. 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. Was this crazy? Reckless? Absolutely. But so was everything about them, from the first argument in that elevator to every moment since. Ethan had never done things the conventional way, and neither had she. Slowly, she reached for the pen, meeting his gaze one last time. "All right," she murmured, a smile creeping onto her lips. "But I'm reading every clause first." Ethan chuckled, pulling her in for a kiss. The most important contract of their lives, officially signed.